to be out there as retailers. I stock all of these guys. I haven't done food yet, so I can't vouch for Richard, but I know his stuff's very nice. I've been eating it all week. But one of the main problems we've had is going out there and being able to select the product that's going to sell in the stores. And probably 60% of our retail money comes in from Two Star Dog, Ohio Hempery. We sell a lot of their paper and stationery and stuff. Headcase, hats and sweaters have been a huge selling point for us. And Crucial Creations, the clothing is a little cheaper than some of the other companies out there, but is very reliable and won't fall apart and that sort of thing. But one of the main things, I'm not into the fashion thing. I was not a businessman per se before I got into this, and I soon found out that you really have to research this kind of thing if you're going to go into it and spend money and hope that it's going to become the big viable fiber that everybody's talking about. And we're lucky enough to have these companies to buy from. So all I can say is if you want to open up a retail hemp location, do your homework, because the first and foremost thing, and every real estate agent you talk to and anybody who's in business, they will all tell you there are three main things in business retail. That's location, location, location. And without the location, you're not going to make the money. And we have 4 outlets now. We sell not only in small marketplaces in England, but we have a store now in Brighton. We have a store in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and we have a small retail outlet at Briarwood Mall in Ann Arbor, Michigan too. So it goes to prove that the money can be made out there, and hemp is on its way back. But I again would just like to thank the clothing companies that make it possible for me to sit here as a retailer. Thank you very much.
Of the product to convince your buyer that they're doing the right thing, that they're buying green?
Well, that all comes back to what Ben was talking about. You've got the circle. You've got the growth of the hemp plant. You've got the people that grow it. You've got the people that buy it. And I think at the moment, China, Romania, and I'm not sure on what other European companies are making a huge strive towards making hemp fabric. But there's a lot of demand for this material. It doesn't come cheaply. It's more expensive than cotton, and it's probably priced over silk too. I'm not quite sure. I'm sure Don can help us out on that. But it's going to last. The fiber is stronger than cotton, so it's going to last longer. That's a selling point. This is a fiber that's 3 times stronger and the longest and strongest natural fiber known to man. So it's all about, you've got to be able to sell anything. You've got to be a salesman. And there are great things with this plant. You can sell it from every aspect. But I think these guys can probably help you out.
No, but you're right. From an environmental standpoint, what you're saying is you are selling hemp as a strong product.
Ecologically friendly.
Ecologically friendly, where you can reduce.
Right.
Remember we learned our 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle. And from an environmental side, this is the way to go. And you are reducing consumption of clothing. And God, Americans, I live in America, and we are the biggest consumers out there. Now the product's in America, and people love the quality, all the way back to this quote, which I need to kind of read to you, and I don't know if anybody could guess who actually said this, but now this hemp is the finest fiber known to mankind. My God, if you ever have a shirt made of it, your grandchildren would never wear it out. You take Polish families. We used to see marijuana in the yards of Polish families. We go in and start to tear it up, and the men came out with a shotgun yelling, "These are my clothes for next winter." Do you have any idea who said that? It was poorly read. Anybody?
Harry Anslinger. He said that when he came back from the Single Convention Treaty in 1970, when they took the laws against marijuana and made sure that it applied to him.
There Thank you. Actually, we can go a little freeform now because I do want to talk a little bit about marijuana and hemp. So I'd like for you to actually continue.
Well, to me, the debate these days is it a step in the right direction for us to end up with 20 pages of regulations about what's industrial hemp and allowing industrial hemp to be grown in the United States versus the advocates who say, no, we got to legalize all parts of the plant right now, and that it's a step backwards if we legalize industrial hemp. Oh, it's only going to take it longer for us to legalize marijuana. I tend to support both positions. Mostly I just want to see something done. The longer it takes, the more I become an advocate for the total legalization, and the more that I see the regulations that are being proposed in the various states, the more I favor the total legalization. The problem is, I'm taking us back to the 1950s when the government wanted to stop hemp production again. What it began to do was to overregulate the farmers. And if every farmer has to apply for a license and pay a lot of money for a license, right now that $1 license in the Hemp for Victory film is $875. And if the farmer has to do tests for the THC, and if the farmer is at risk of losing his whole crop if the tests don't come out right, it's going to be economically impossible to get hemp going. And so, until we can get the whole monkey off our backs and this whole fear about marijuana, I'm afraid the bureaucrats are going to make hemp growing impossible. And so all the regulations in the world aren't going to do us any good.
What do they do with Prop 250?
Yeah, or there's some.
With the license.
Yeah, the government's going to get in the way no matter what these state initiatives do. So it's time for stronger action. The longer we keep putting off farmers, the more radical they're going to get, the more people are going to see that this whole idea of the government bureaucracy has got to go. Increases in, see? People are frustrated. So there's some value in frustration.
Is there a case for incremental development?
Step in the right direction. If this is the environmental imperative that we say it is, then why are we letting marijuana get in the way of hemp? Isn't it the right direction for us to go ahead and agree to standards that assure the government and the people that we can produce hemp in the United States without a tiny possibility of affecting the drug problem? Then maybe we should go ahead and grow hemp. And you see, it's very difficult. People are on both sides. We don't have agreement amongst ourselves. It makes us very vulnerable for the government to come in and divide us and conquer us. So the first step is for us to agree on a plan of action, which is what I'm going to be working on in the next year with many other people.
What I like to say in this thing is that you guys in America and Australia, Canada, there's a different situation in Europe. We don't have these problems you got. So we grow hemp like anything. And even we grow marijuana like anything. And what is interesting, what's funny, we grow hemp near the German border. And some German kids come over the border and take the butts of hemp. They had to smoke for 25 keys to get high, but they still come. So what I think is, for sure, I said years ago already, when the dope and the dividing the dope and the rope discussion came, I said, I will not compromise. And I won't, because it's not me. And the thing is that I grow hemp in this yard and marijuana somewhere else. It doesn't make a difference. I mean, you can still look both sides. There's nothing wrong to it. So that is what they have to see and have to face. And that we score by these points of hemp. And that we score. I'm sitting in this Hash Marijuana Museum for 12 years and I have all these people explaining the same stories we all know. We know a lot. It's so nice to hear it again. But if you keep explaining them and they see and now it's there. So also America, Australia, they want to fence hemp in Australia. Can you imagine how much it costs to put a fence of I don't know how many thousands of meters? It makes it impossible. But now coming over to look in Europe, because it's not only Holland hemp, it's Germany hemp, it's French hemp, it's England hemp, it's hemp all over the place. So America will come over, I'm sure.
Friends that low THC plants produce, I'm sorry, I didn't,
Better fiber?
better fiber.
Well,
Of course
the,
not.
the point is on this moment that there are little seed banks, you know. People in America, because of the drug war, lose a lot of their strains. To go into the details of what plant and what particular variety of plant is the best for clothing, paper or anything, there's a lot of factors. It's not the THC that matters too much. It's also the yield. How much does it yield? How tall will it grow? What does the effect on the rest of the environment? That is all. There's many factors that still have to do a lot of research. We're working on a new variety of hemp as well, and we have to do that within the range of low THC. But I think also at this moment they are the most, what can I say, probably the best to work with for paper and textile at the moment. A friend of mine in Switzerland, he produced a lot of dope. You wouldn't believe, you know, that he grow high THC plants for hemp purposes. And indeed, you know, you can buy his etheric oil, Falchambre, in the Pax Party House, and you can taste also the oil, what he produced, and especially the etheric oil. He used tons of skunk, you know. He put $1 million stuff in a boiler and get a few bottles of oil, and it's a high THC plant. I believe there is something in it that probably high THC plants might have different benefits, better benefits, and this is the question for the researchers in the future to find out. Maybe for seeds, fiber, clothing, all kind of factors are important.
Some have suggested actually that since you grow it for fiber crops, you generally return your leaf matter and your tops to the soil.
Yeah.
Because this maintains the good balance of the soil.
Yeah.
Treasures.
Well, I tell you.
Let me finish this. But that the high THC varieties return more to the soil and stimulate soil growth and organisms in the soil to a much greater extent than the low THC varieties.
You know what, I talked with you a bit yesterday, but I'm sure nature finds its own way. You know what? I know something about seed breeding, and I'm always angry on people who breed seeds from hybrids and hybrids and hybrids and say they have this good, pure strain. They don't have it, and they sell it and they cheat people all over the world. What is important is that if you take some seeds, even if I take the best Cannabis Cup winner tomorrow, dead grass, and I grow it outdoor, and I go on and on and on, I will end up with a low THC product. The nature will do it in this climate itself. If you do the same thing in France or more south, you will have a different thing going. So nature shows itself. We shouldn't interfere too much.
Well,
Very low yield, and he have less money, and actually it's the grower the same. If he grow a good crop of marijuana and he grow a lot, you know, he's more happy than if he grow a little bit, and they have to take care of the plants for sure.
When you grow hemp and high THC marijuana in the same region, and I know that you do that, you're the perfect person for this question, what are the chances of cross-pollination of the hemp into the high THC species and basically trashing the species, is what I'm asking. Is that possible? And
Well,
how likely is it in nature?
It's a matter of fact that after selling so many years the best varieties of marijuana seeds, some of the people who are growing outdoors now in the region where we grow hemp, they're fucked, you know. They're angry, you know. In that sense, let me finish. They're fucked because what happens is that their flower will be pollinated and stop growing. The potency is still there. Don't worry about that. The solution is there. We produce more early flowering plants so that you can harvest before the pollen comes. Also, thank you. Also, it is possible that if you grow indoors, you have a filterized overpressure room and you won't have a problem at all.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You prefer to just go all out and legalize all marijuana or cannabis and hemp. And in America right now, how many Americans are in the group here? Lots, yeah, that's what I figured. Right now there are 10 states that have some form of legislative platform for legalizing hemp for industrial use. But it seems that within all 10 of those states, and they're all Midwest agricultural states, down to Kentucky, which is kind of Midwest, but it's closer south. But anyhow, it seems to be they don't care about the environmental aspects of it. They don't care about what it can do for our future, for our health, and to make us more efficient of a society. What they're looking for, unfortunately, is the dollar sign, and that's why I have this balance here today. Mitch Kahn is of a leading corporation called Headcase, and they're internationally known with their baseball hats and sweaters. And Mitch has joined together with many corporations in the hemp industry worldwide, and his theory is to kind of market hemp as a whole, to educate and get it out there. And I'd like for you to kind of elaborate on this and see if buying green is what you're getting at.
Okay. Well, Ben said something before, which I want to thank him for, because it's really clarified why I'm here. He said, I don't have a job, I have an obsession. And I think that I do have an obsession, because it's one of the main reasons that I've stayed in the hemp business despite all odds. It's a difficult business to stay in. But I believe that the people up at this table here, and the people who are at the PAX Party House, and the people who come to all the conventions in the States, they've made it over the hump. And they're going to keep moving forward, and this is going to be a viable industry. I think that the obsession that I have is really with freedom, and it's something that ties together people who are here for the marijuana reasons, and people who are here like Headcase for the hemp reasons. It's all about freedom. And I think that by promoting hemp products that are really, really good quality, worldwide, we can demonstrate to people that they can use the infinite resources of the planet instead of being brainwashed by the corporate and political machinery, which is what's been going on for my entire lifetime, probably since the Industrial Revolution, probably since the beginning of time. People have been brainwashed by products, and they can grow their own. They can find their own products. And hemp is one of those products that's out there, and I think that that's one of the main reasons that it's still legal. At last year's Cup, I spent a long night with Julie and some guys from Two Star Dog and some hemp retail store owners, and we talked about ways that we could work together to market the hemp industry. And around 8 or 9 in the morning, we came up with this idea, which is, where can I get more hemp? And it's based on the premise that Headcase, we sell about 2,000 stores all over the world. And I meet a lot of people and tell them the business that I'm in. And, oh yeah, hemp, Woody Harrelson, yeah, Academy Awards. It's expensive, isn't it? It's really durable. George Washington. And they have no idea where they can buy the products. And I think the reason they have no idea where they can buy the products is that all the people who've gotten involved in the hemp industry are really independent business people who are in it for their own reasons, and it's going to stay that way. It's not going to be some big hemp Walmart or hemp shopping mall. It's not what it's all about. It's about people doing their own thing, using hemp and using other things that they believe in to promote their causes. So we came up with a unifying slogan, which seems to have worked. It's gone far in the last year, and that's, where can I get more hemp? And in about, I'd say, 5 days' time, came back from Amsterdam, went to New York, had these stickers made up with all of our websites on it, and the big retail store in New York and the big trade show in New York printed on it. And it's got together about 20 or 30 people in New York City and stuck stickers all over the place. We got up about 10,000 stickers in 2 days, and it definitely made a difference. And we went in San Francisco and did the same thing 2 months later. And it's grown now to include a website called hempstores.com, which is a search engine for hemp stores all over the country, all over the US, and it might include some all over the world, but if it doesn't, it will by the beginning of January. It also includes a national advertising campaign, which would be promoting the Where Can I Get More Hemp logo in national magazines, pointing them to a place where they could find out more information about hemp. And this has been absent up until now. You know, you don't look in Rolling Stone magazine or TV Guide or People and see any advertisements for hemp, because I don't see any stories about hemp, we're kind of off the radar. So we're working hard to work together and get this done. It's being coordinated by a number of different people, but if anyone is interested in working with it, they can contact Candy Penn from the Hemp Industries Association. And there's one other thing that if anyone else is interested in getting involved in it or using, you can use the logo for your own business for free. You can check that out at hempseed.com, which is a really good resource for all information about hemp and the hemp business. Thanks.
In America, how much do American industries spend on raw materials to have imported into the country to produce, to then distribute?
I'm sitting here trying to do this in my head between all the companies and all the cloth that they import and all the twine that we're importing and all the seeds we're importing and the raw fiber products. And my guess is in 1997 it was between 20 and 30 million dollars worth of raw materials that were brought in to make about $100 million worth of finished product.
Which is $25 million that U.S. farmers don't get. I don't know how much the economic impact is. I mean, that's what, no one else is going to do it but us. You and me and Don and Mitch and the rest of us. It's up to us.
The real economic impact is that we've exported this momentum out of the United States. This momentum in the last few years really started in the United States. California could have been the center of the hemp industry like it is the center of the microchip industry. But government interference has already ruined that possibility, that the momentum has had to go overseas because that's where the production is. Even my own company, we're quickly moving to Canada because we can't produce what we want to produce in the United States. And all the innovations, all the technology, all the investment, all the jobs are going overseas, and that's a terrible loss for America.
Are there any other questions?
Just curious about organically produced hemp. And do you people know anything about it? Do you grow organically? Because I was speaking to someone from Diamond Organics, which is an organic farming distribution company, produce company in America, and I was speaking to him about hemp because they want to expand what they do into textiles. And they started with a line of cotton socks, and I had mentioned, because I love the cotton socks from you people, I mentioned, well, what about hemp? And he said that, you know, we were very interested and spoke with some people about hemp, but it's not being farmed organically. And that it seems sort of, to quote him, hypocritical that it's so great for the environment, yet you're using poisons to grow. But that's just one person's opinion.
I tell you a story. I told it also to Julie, you know, I tried to eat health food already for 25 years or more. And everybody thought I was an idiot, and they still do think so. All these farmers, I work with 150 farmers. If I tell them I drink a different kind of milk than they do, they laugh about me. If I show them the bread I eat, they think I'm a dumbhead. And in a way, I learned from the farmers that in a way we were a lot of times dumbheads. It took them 3 years before they realized what's happening. I give you an example. We saw about 40 tons of seed this year. In the first place, we use pig shit. We have too much pigs in Holland. You know this already on the street here and there. I don't joke. But we have too much pigs and we have a lot of pig shit. So we put on this land 60,000 cubic meter of pig shit. That means 1,500 of those big tank wagons you can see on the roads once in a while. The guys in England, they smelled it. It was in the newspaper, you know, when we did it. This is what it starts with. Then we put the seeds in it. And from then on, this farmer said, I was watching it growing. With a chair, I sit it and see it 10 centimeters grow. It took them 3 years to discover that these 40 tons of seeds are 2 truckloads, 2 double trucks full, 40 tons. Now they realize that if they put grain or other crops, they put 60 tons of pesticides, insecticides. That is, you know, that's much more of these trucks. You know, this is, and if you see the trucks, you realize what they do. But now, this year, one of those guys told me, now he see, because he said, of course farmers don't like to spray this stuff. Of course, they don't want to tell us because they have to, and we are too dumb to understand they have to. They have to. But with hemp, you don't. We don't, we never did, and I hope we never will have to. And if, you know, until now, this is biological hemp, all the way.
Very little poison needed to be put on. Doesn't need any herbicide, doesn't need any pesticide. So you're just talking about fertilizer, and your organic company needs it certified organic, but there is some seed. So we're using certified organic seed, for instance, out of Germany. Demeter organization certifies it as sustainable as well as organically grown. So it does exist, but it does not need poisons like cotton does. You know, it doesn't need poisons like you don't need Roundup Ready hemp like soybeans. You know, it's the reason there's so little organic certification is that they just have never really needed to put anything on it. There just never seems to maybe not be a market for certified organic fiber, though there is for seed because it's of course for consumption.
And hemp is a rotation crop, right? So the farmers discovered also, because the hemp is very deep rooted, and it makes the soil loose, and we keep the root in the soil. So on some of those lands that are now already grow hemp for 2-3 times, they have a crop raise, yield production of potatoes nearly to 10%. So the farmers see it on all the way. They don't have to spray also after hemp, and when they put grain again, normally potatoes come up again, you know, into the field grains, and sometimes they lose a lot. Now there's no potato coming because the hemp cleared off the weeds. So the farmers realized in this rotation crop there's the environmental answer. And of course, I'm afraid to say so because that's what I learned from the farmers also. Again, when they come with grain, they will have to again, I'm afraid.
Okay, thank you.
On the HIA and the IHA and the AHA and the NIHC rap, because there are a lot of organizations of hempsters getting together trying to solve these problems amongst ourselves. We should be competitors with each other who would hesitate to take the stage together, but we turn out to be really good friends who cooperate in our industries because we have an industry association that steps in to settle trade disputes when we need it, to protect ourselves from imitators, to set standards for our industry so that the government doesn't set standards on us. And so if you're going to be involved in the hemp industry, join the HIA, join the IHA, join the NIHC, join the AHA. Just get involved and help us.
Hi. I guess my question is if there's anyone on the panel that would support the contention that because marijuana is so valuable, because it's so essential to global healing and the existence of our species in a sustainable way, can it really be made illegal? Is hemp really illegal? And has anybody quantified the impact that prohibition has had on the evolution of our species? I mean, we're a very young species, so, I mean, is marijuana illegal or is it legal and it's just prohibited?
Well, this is a question that you can have both answers as well. You know, it's legal and it's prohibited.
Isn't it only legal in our grains because we're told that it's illegal?
No, it's one of the mistakes men made in the past. It's like they were working with DDT and they didn't know what they were doing. You know, and the prohibition is the same thing. It's ignorance. It was ignorance. Yeah.
Well, I have another question for Don Wirtschafter. Would you agree that coordinated tax revolt is really the most direct way to end cannabis prohibition? If people would just stop economically supporting a government that puts people in jail for growing their own medicine, then wouldn't we have a lot more credibility as individuals? I mean, if we pay our taxes to a government that's putting our friends and family in jail, then aren't we part of the conspiracy? I haven't paid taxes in 10 years, and I've written to the IRS every year. Right now I've got a $50,000 fine hanging over my head in the States, and I'm living here. And I recommend you all do the same. Well, I argued that in U.S. tax court a year ago last September, and I was told that my question was an argument, and I was fined anyway. So
They can find you till, you die.
well, no, they can put you in jail for tax evasion. But the question is that a viable tool? Is anybody doing that? Should we consider
A method of getting rid of the Vietnam War. It was somewhat effective. To me, the most effective thing people can do to change things is to buy hemp. Buy your mom a hemp shirt for Christmas. She'll tell all her friends at the Bridge Club, wow, this is hemp, the world's longest, strongest, most durable natural fiber. You turn her into a hamster, The idea being that once we get people wearing hemp or rubbing it on their bodies or using the ropes on their boats, it changes their attitude about it. They realize that this is just a useful plant that everybody needs instead of the evil weed. And they start thinking about these crazy laws that put 500,000 people in jail, or at least get 500,000 people arrested every year over marijuana. And the economic impact and the cost, it makes them think about the consequences of this old stupid law. So buy hemp.
Because we pay tax on something what is, on the edge of legal, illegal. And I always think that the same thing I can say now. If we have a dispute with the government or anybody, hey, I'm paying tax, man. We're paying tax. We part of society. We're not out. And paying tax, and it is the same with coffee shops here in Holland. They bring a lot of money to the state. And we just think it's for the good thing, what the government spends.
Still, there must be 200 coffee shops closed here in Amsterdam.
I'm sorry?
There have to be 200 coffee shops closed here in Amsterdam. That's what they were saying, because they don't get permission to sell the weed, because there are also going to be taxes on the weed.
Well, there was a big hype started by friends that made the Dutch government and the city of Amsterdam had to do something according to the public, that we are not a narco state, we are not completely loose here in Amsterdam. So they say we're going to check the coffee shops and we're going to select the bad ones out. In the beginning they came politically very hard and say they want to wrap it half of the coffee shops of Amsterdam. The latest news is that after this sweep out, the cleaning, I think about 40 coffee shops are closed down, and you can think about what kind, I don't know exactly also. But in the meantime, what's happening is they say they realize what a clean branch it is. And they realize the coffee shops in Holland are doing very well in Amsterdam. And so the pressure of the coffee shops in Amsterdam is floating away a bit. Also, coffee shops have now a legal stamp as a license to be selling dope. This is the only place in the world where you find a license on a place selling marijuana. So it's not so bad. It's bad, but we should look at the good side also.
Ben, wasn't it not only they were more concerned with what was happening with hard drugs in some of the coffee shops here in Amsterdam?
Yeah, right. And you can imagine, there's a lot of nice people around here, but also here some people use hard dope. And in coffee shop it's the same sort of thing. And some coffee shops, more and more people using hard dope came there. So can you still call it a coffee shop there?
Oh no, I agree with you entirely. The problem with the French was they thought that the coffee shops was where the hard drugs was coming from.
As well, yeah. And it was the scapegoat, because those people in houses and on the street you can't point your finger at. And the coffee shop, you can say, look, it's there. That was the problem.
taxes that you pay on goods and services that you buy are legal, and direct taxation is not legal in the United States. So if you read your First Amendment of the Constitution, it provides two protections against direct taxation. And so, in fact, payment of taxes in the United States is voluntary. And the taxes that you do pay to the federal government just go to pay for the interest on the national debt, which is owned by foreign banks. The excise taxes and the taxes that you pay on goods and services are the things that pay for the infrastructural maintenance and things. So if, I'm not against taxes, I think we all have to do our share, but the most rational way of applying a fair tax is just to tax people on the amount of money they spend. If they spend a lot of money, they pay a lot of taxes. If they don't spend a lot of money, and they don't pay taxes. It works. So I think, if these ideas can be generally talked about, and everybody that hears them can take responsibility for the information and realize that it's not okay for us to burn petrochemicals. That's something that I think, I have a personal theory about the hemp industry.
Paul, can you share it with us when we go meet over here and take questions?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank
Or if people would like to hear it, it's not very long. It's just the development of the petroleum industry, or development of the hemp fuels industry, I think needs to happen before the other industrial uses of hemp are going to become economically competitive. Because this is a community-based economy tool that we're working with, and we're trying to apply it to a global endless growth economy, and it just doesn't work. Thank you.
Is this it's a revolution, but it seems to be a very practical revolution. But at the same time, we're also fighting the hemp revolution. It's lots of battles, and is it taking a step back, or does anybody have an opinion on this? I'd like to get a little bit more clear, to be honest.
Well, many of us keep trying to prove the emperor conspiracy, trying to show that it really was economic subterfuge that took hemp away from us in 1937, trying to find the smoking gun, in the archives of Congress and other places, to show people this really was purposeful. And if people realize this conspiracy, maybe they'll start thinking about all the other government interference in our lives, all the social controls and things going on. So hopefully when we create this hemp revolution, we're going to raise awareness on hundreds of other levels that people need to make aware of and do something about. And so, yeah, I'm not in this just to change minds about hemp. I'd really like to change fundamental problems in our society at the same time. And it's really important for us to unite and make these changes, as well as unite on what else are we going to do when we have the chance.
It was economic subterfuge that made hemp illegal. It's definitely keeping hemp illegal, because why else would hemp still be illegal if there weren't forces conspiring to keep it illegal? It makes so much sense to everybody in this room that farmers should be allowed to grow hemp to produce all sorts of goods. And there are definitely monetary reasons in the United States that are keeping it down.
You see, to me, what keeps hemp illegal is the crackpot politicians, these dinosaurs we have still in office. When they get in office, they quit listening to the people. They have no way to keep in touch. The mindset of America has changed. More than 50% of the people in the last 5 years have learned about hemp and are very in favor of it. But the politicians don't realize this yet. I call them crackpot politicians because these guys don't know the difference between crack and pot.
The approach towards it has to be baby steps. We have to maybe learn to stumble before we run. So let's go ahead every little angle we can, whether it's industry or psychotropic effect. Either way, the biomass is incredible, okay? Let's baby step it. Let's get this thing going and let's learn to run. I think it's not an all or nothing thing. We have to take it from every angle we can and push forward on every area that you're involved with.
The person from that area told me that he's also the spokesman for the petrochemical industry. When they have to trot out a hair professor, doctor to make some public statement, they trot him out. And so I don't know if that's a sign of things to come. But
yeah, I do expect the backlash. Now that it's starting to look like we have a map to success here, where we can run over all the other technologies and have hemp as the fiber of the future. The other technologies are going to react. They are going to do their best to disparage hemp, and we as an industry have to unite really quickly to be able to counter these moves on a timely basis, because they will tried to destroy us yet.
Would you like to add?
Should be involved. And I'm surprised that however we try, they didn't see the step yet. And I blame them. I blame them not to come up for the rights of all these people in prison. Amnesty International, because I think it's a political imprisonment. I don't want to see all these people who fight for the whale and who fight for the earth, Greenpeace, that they should fight for him as well, because they know, they should know, and they should stand behind it.
In the United States, there's a form of legal action called the class action suit, and some class action suits can be brought without having to actually, in the beginning, actually say who are the individuals bringing the suit, just the number of individuals bringing the suit. And I'm just wondering if anybody knows if anyone's ever tried, or if anybody would be willing to try, to bring a class action suit with three principles, one being constitutional right to freedom of religion, number two, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and number three, medical and environmental genocide. So,
and that would be for the medical side of it only. It's not easy. You've got to find really cooperative lawyers to go for this. As far as hemp is concerned, there's a lot of developments happening. The NATO organization got a grant to begin to go after the DEA and the Department of Agriculture on regulatory levels, trying to get them to, we want to get the Department of Agriculture to, be standing there ready to grab the football, and the Drug Enforcement Administration ready to pass the football over regulation of industrial hemp. And when you start looking at what it's going to take to administer regulated industrial hemp, it's huge, and we really don't want the Drug Enforcement Administration to do it. So we're trying hard to get the Department of Agriculture to accept its responsibility to deal with this agricultural crop. There's all the state initiatives happening and this and that. Class action suits, I'm not aware of one for hemp. It happened in April 1991, and it's only coming to trial right now, this crime of having marijuana. $74 worth, 25 pounds of hemp seeds. Most of it was the Federal Express charges. And my testimony was that it would have been about $25 million worth of hemp seed, or marijuana seeds. And since it was only a $26 bill for the seeds themselves, I was assuring the court that it was hemp. And so if you want to know what the difference between hemp and marijuana is, hemp seeds are worth about $1 a pound, and marijuana seeds are worth about $1 a piece or more. And there's 25,000 seeds to a pound, so you figure it out. And that really is the cost of the artificial price support that the government puts in. The $19 billion a year U.S. government spends on drug enforcement simply operates as a subsidy to the black market to make these marijuana prices so high.
I wish I could speak for the growers too. I used to grow. I don't grow anymore. I wish I could speak for the revolutionists, because I fought with them in Hawaii too, South Tipinapopo. And there's a big revolution there to legalize it, but I can't speak for them. Who I can speak for is the black market. That's who will not allow cannabis to be legal in America. It's people in the black market. The growers want it legal. Man, if we could grow it all and pass it along, it would be great for free. Some of the brokers want it legal. Give up a little bit of money, sure. We could have coffee shops. The black market does not want it legal. Those people who buy bags for $100 don't want it legal. Those people that smoke it and don't share it with their friends, they don't want it legal either. How do we make it legal?
Yeah, I'm sorry, you know.
Senator, I'd like you can answer this question.
Well, you know, if I look back in Holland, you know, let's say when my son was born 30 years ago, he's 30 now. It was a fight. It was illegal. It was on the street, and I smoked my first few joints and had to pay 25 guilders. So I came up to Amsterdam, bought a piece, go back to Rotterdam, and share it. So my friends paid 25 guilders, and I smoked. So that was business. That is a black market. That's a black market, but it's a sharing market. I'm even saying some things sometimes that nobody understands. You know, like something like Escobar wasn't so bad. You know, because he did a lot of marijuana. We got Howard Marks here. He'd been 8 years in imprisonment. He put tons and tons of marijuana all over the world. That's a black market. But what they were was people who liked to smoke and shared with a lot of friends, and they did. And then 25 years ago, things changing because they go in the open. In pop festivals, everybody goes in the open, and you find little entrepreneurs walking and running. And we got some people here in this audience, even like myself, who go to Turkey, bring some hash, and share it with their friends. And all this kind of things, you know, that happens. And that was the black market. And then slowly, we imported all this marijuana from Colombia and from Idi Amin, Africa. All the dictators from Asia, we smoked all that black market. But in the meantime, then we came out with the seeds. And now 60% of what we smoke is marijuana from home growers, a black market. They want to have it legal. They don't want to go in jail. I don't believe it. I know, because we got 70,000 growers growing marijuana for the coffee shops. It's not a black market. And of course we would like to keep it with these people. You know, maybe that is what you're writing. We like to keep it. But who of you grow your own tobacco? Who of you grow your own tomatoes? Who of you grow your own lettuce? Nobody does. Not many. Not many. So we need people to do that. I'm a realist, pragmatist. And I see these people having greenhouses, farmers. I talk about these farmers that you say they dying all over the place. They should farm it. They are our farmers. They know how to do it. They got the green fingers. You know?
Grow your own. Perhaps the black market of which you refer is not the growers, but it's the Bank of America, the Citibank, Citicorp, and all the other banks that make hundreds of millions of dollars a year and float from money laundering. And I think they're the ones who do not want to see it legalized. CIA. I mean, B of A was the 50% owner of BCCI when it went down because of all the corruption and money laundering it was doing.
The coke explosion in the 80s was due to the CIA, though. The market, the black market, the forces of the CIA don't mind it there. They don't want it to be legal or not. They don't care. They just make money from it.
Don't minimize the bank's influence, though, and the fact that they make enormous profits off of it. They don't want to see it legal. They don't want to lose that money. That stuff gets put in there. Sometimes it never comes out. People don't request it to be wired, or something happens to them. They make enormous profits off of it, and I think they're the ones with the influence. They're the ones playing golf with Newt, having lunch with Al.
So do we beat it with money then? What do we all take all our money and pitch in and like have someone speak and try to
change the law? I mean, the whole thing comes crumbling down and it gets straightened out. But you have to overcome B of A and Citicorp and all these banks that are making a lot of money on it.
Hey, but how does the famous guy get his hash around to other countries? Don't you get checked or something when you go to there?
Talk to me?
Yeah.
If I take my hash,
outside of Tokyo, where then?
If I go outside the country?
Yeah.
Well, I'm one of the funny people. I always risk my neck and I always take my joint with me.
Well, you tell us now. That's kind of what happened to your career. Well, what happened to your career? It would go down the drain, I think.
You know, if I go on holiday, wherever I go, like this weekend I will go to London, and I will just bring my stash. Hello England, here I come. But it's for me. I smoke it, you know. I smoke it. I don't bring it to the British. And if they bust me on the airport, they kick me back and probably I have to be 1 day in jail. but I did it many times.
My husband has to spend 3 hours in secondary interrogation, and they're not really nice, you know. And we don't bring anything.
I know they're not very nice, police also not, but I changed my attitude. I know there's many things, bad things happen, but believe it or not, I don't hate the police anymore. That's just people who don't know, you know. They're ignorant, and they are there, and too bad. And if they do bad things, too bad for them, too bad for me as well, too bad for your husband. But that doesn't mean we should start to hate them. You know, and I hate them for a long time, you believe me. I try to love them.
All the people involved in making hemp clothing and hemp fabric go into an existing structure. There are people who are really creative that can do anything that they want. If they're still in the hemp industry, they've demonstrated they can do whatever they want. It's been a really, really hard road. And I think that with the people who are involved, or people who want to get involved in the hemp industry because of hemp, those people can reach the mass market themselves.
Don't you feel like I know you from just being around here so many days together? Guys, all high times, all Dutch people, hotels, airplane, all that kind of stuff. Immense amount of resources involved in putting this thing here together. And I said something about who in my family was in jail the other day. For those of you who are farm people who were asking me what I meant, the author of the Farm Vegetarian Cookbook, for those of you who have a reference to that, is who I said was doing federal time. And it was very educational for me to go through the process with her. I mean, she likes me to come hold her hand when she goes to the dentist. You know, and so when he was going to go see the DA, she really wanted me to come over here. And I got to see what it's like for somebody when you're working under the federal guidelines. And basically, what it's like, if you're on a federal guideline bus, what your lawyer does is tell you, relax, it doesn't hurt as much that way. And that's pretty much what your legal advice amounts to if you're on a federal guideline bus. Lawyers don't have any discretion, DAs don't have any discretion, judges don't have any discretion except the max on everybody they can stick it to as hard as they can stick it to. But, of course it is. Concentration camp, like it, I wish I had the exact numbers, but I've heard several times recently that if you think of the marijuana people in jail as the American dissidents, that the Americans have more of their dissidents in jail than China does. Yeah.
1.5 billion.
Unreasonable how they act. This is now, I'm 62 years old, I've been a college professor, you know. I've run a publishing company, I've been the CEO of a large SAP corporation. I've seen millions of dollars pass through our hands when we were doing overseas relief and development work. I've made treaties between countries in order to pull off relief and development, or getting money from Canada and the United States and getting permission to take it through Mexico to go down and work with it in Guatemala and working with all those industries. I mean, as they say back in Tennessee, I've been to 2 goat ropings in a county fair and I've seen some stuff. And here in 1997, sitting down and looking at how it is, it's not just unjust, it's nuts. It's way, way beyond reason and beyond anything that can really fly in this real world. And I see clearly that the intractable attitude of you know, the hard Republican right is that they don't think that they have tried hard enough to discourage us yet. They think that if they could just discourage us a little harder, that we'd all just break over and forget all this foolishness, you know? And them turning on the screws, every time they turn on the screws and tighten it up and make it a little nastier and a little harder and a little more unfair and a little more unconstitutional, there's a few more oppressed feeling people on the fringes who are pushed out of their spiritual nonviolence. You know? Who are just pushed to the edge where they just can't handle it. Every time they tighten it down, there's a few people who get pushed into that place. And it's not just that I want to be able to smoke my pot. I want to be able to live in my country without being terrified either of the government or the poor people the government's put on the streets. You know, it didn't used to be like that. I remember the first time I was in New York City and I saw a car wreck on a corner in the Bronx. And I came back by the next day and the cars were still sitting out in the middle of the intersection. So, whoa, this country is not the same as it was in my youth. And I remember those old third grade books, you know, like you had one page that had every kind of transportation in it, you know. We were talking about this the other day, and it has an airplane in the background and a boat going by on the water and a bus going over here and a car over here, everything showing the kids all that kind of stuff. And that kind of books had stuff in it about what the country was about, and it was about how folks who wanted to be free came and started, you know, it left out a lot of truth. Like it left out about the Indians they killed to take over the country, and it left out that some of the guys who came, and it didn't really say the actual truth, which is that the United States was established for the freedom and protection of different kinds of white male Protestants. See, it was to be sure that all those different kind of white male Protestants all got the same deal, but not women or black people or somebody who wasn't one of them, you know. We know better now, and we think that it means everybody and all races and all religions and all sects and everything. That's what we really know that in all decency it really means now. But it didn't start that way. But, you know, we're not some of the people who feels very much like the power of the sovereignty of the state resolves in our hands, because I pay my taxes and I vote my vote and I do all that stuff. And my side never wins. You know? Somebody was telling me, he says, well, you know, I like your presidential idea, but, you know, everybody I've ever voted for has been the kiss of death. I hate to put it on you. I'd like it to be a little different than that, you know, for us in our time. So, I want to feel like that this is like a great international congress, like hippie United Nations or something, and that you guys is all delegates from wherever you came, you know, and that you're going to go back and say, I went over there to Holland, man, and I smoked a hell of a lot of good bud, and I got some buzzes on you wouldn't believe. I got the munchies until I went in and wiped out the whole delicatessen. You know, that also you've got to go home and you've got to say that it was like a civics lesson to be in a free country. It was like learning something about government and how the world works. To just say that when the United States, they say that they're doing the best they can, they are not doing the best they can. These guys are doing better. You know? And that saddens me and shames me and everything, you know. And so we gotta get searched by them. Yeah, I gotta get searched on the way home, sure. But what I want us to do is take back the word that there's this place and that it's like this and that there's a way that's reasonable, and it's not like that the Dutch are all a bunch of hippie freaks all smoking spliffs all the time, you know. It's that the Dutch are tolerant and wise and love freedom. That's what. that's gonna go back where you came from, you're gonna tell them about, you know, what it's like. And, you know, you guys that are from the United States, you go back and you let them know that it's like that here. And you guys that are from Europe and have come from other places in Europe, you're gonna go back and say, hey, you know, the American hippies are beginning to catch on. You know, they haven't had a war on their land so long, they're a little soft, but, you know, they're figuring it out. And we got a different kind of war now. When Vietnam was the big cause, everybody knew somebody who was in Vietnam and had been drafted and could be killed and stuff. And now, pretty much everybody either knows somebody who's doing federal time in the penitentiary or has AIDS, you know, and is having their cause ignored, you know. And every time, it's a sad way for the country to become radicalized, but very true and very strong. And every time they bust some college kid or high school kid and put bad record on him that'll chase him down his student loans when he's in college, when he's old and all that kind of stuff. And every time some family finds out that their kid has AIDS, it radicalizes that family and makes them suddenly find out what it's like. You know, different chemicals radicalize different people. You know, I know a lady who was radicalized by the Terminex termite poisoning company. And the chemical that radicalized her was when the guy who came to do her house for termites didn't have a clue what he was doing. He had the straight 100% poison that was supposed to be diluted many times, and he ran so much of it into her foundation. There was 6 inches of it inside her foundation of pure poison. Poisoned her house and her children, put her in a coma for 6 weeks. She couldn't take her clothes or books or anything out of the house because they were so poisoned they made her break out to touch them, you know. And so she left the place, and the place is looking pretty bad. The city says, you know, you better pay the taxes on this place. And she says, confiscate it. They said, no, never mind, forget it, you know. And she, there, you know, one of those kind of deals where this lady's become radical, and she was just the straightest old middle-class Tennessee lady you ever saw, and suddenly she's hanging out with hippies and health fooders and all that kind of stuff, and she's been radicalized by termite poisoning. Well, I tell you, I feel you guys strong, and I feel such a good, you know, intelligent council here that it's just really a pleasure to hang with you. Let's have a little on the music side here. We ready, Diego? Can we do that now?